Hey guys, this video is not about a specifically pagan subject necessarily, but it's on something that a lot of the pagans that I know are interested in. It's something that comes up pretty frequently, and that's Reiki. I will come out and say that I know very little about Reiki. I've had two personal experiences with it, and I've talked to people who are at varying stages of involvement in Reiki, but this video was inspired by that second personal experience, which was only a few days ago. And anyway, I wanted to talk about it because it's been on my mind, and I was talking to my friend Allie about it last night. So I, probably because I know so little about Reiki, I'm pretty skeptical of it. Not because there's anything inherently problematic about Reiki, any more so than any other kind of magical or energetic or homeopathic practice or whatever. But just given my personal experiences with it. So I went ahead and I got myself a massage a few days ago. And I've had massages in the past, but this was the first time I've had a massage, and Oliver is so cute. And the therapist began by asking me if I knew what Reiki was, and said that he liked to incorporate that into his practice. And I said I know a little bit, and sure, go ahead. Because, like I've said, I'll give pretty much anyone the benefit of the doubt, and in the spirit of experimentation and exploration, by all means, go for it. The first time that I had any kind of Reiki was actually from Allie, who is a Reiki master and teacher. And she did it for me just to kind of show me what it entailed a couple of years ago at a psychic fair that she and I were both working at. And anyway, so my understanding of Reiki, essentially, without getting into history or whatever, because I'd be botching that, is essentially that Reiki is a kind of like healing energy that you can be attuned to, and then you can use to help other people, right? What are you doing? So this started with my massage, with the therapist putting his hands on my face like this. Look at this. And I asked Allie about it later, and she said that he was like channeling the Reiki energy into my body, and the whole idea is that the Reiki energy somehow, I don't know if it's conscious, if that's a fair way of describing it, but the Reiki energy somehow moves into the body and settles in places where it's supposed to go, that need alignment or need healing or something like that. Do you mind? He's after my sweatshirt. Anyway, so he did his thing, and then he moved his hand to my my sternum, and pressed firmly there for maybe even a whole minute, and then told me that he was feeling my heart chakra or something like that. And again, chakras are another one of those things where I can place it within American religion more broadly, and particular kinds of Eastern traditions more broadly, but I don't necessarily know a lot about it other than what I hear at various kinds of New Age gatherings. So anyway, and he told me some things that he said were coming from his intuition. This was part of his ability as an empath or as a trained Reiki master or whatnot. And anyway, the entire time that he was doing this, that he had his hands on me before the actual massage began, I found myself laying there and wondering if there was something that I should be doing to facilitate this experience, because I, just like the very first instance with Allie, I didn't necessarily feel anything energetic. I just right? It's just like the physical act of touching. I didn't feel anything in the moment. I didn't feel anything afterwards necessarily. And granted, these were both instances in which, like the first time, Allie was just sort of showing me what was up. It wasn't like I was actually in any kind of physical or emotional distress. And I don't know if that's a factor. The second time when I went in for this massage, it was because I pulled something in my neck. So I was actually in some pain. But anyway, so my skepticism about Reiki comes from these experiences, these two admittedly short experiences where I didn't feel like I necessarily got anything out of it. And maybe that's because of me, maybe that's because of Reiki inherently or something, I don't know. So that's part one of the skepticism. Part two is the way Reiki is taught. Again, not having a whole lot of knowledge about this with any kind of broader context, but just watching my friends go through this and hearing people talk about it and seeing Reiki advertised. My understanding is that there are levels of Reiki, and it's a lineaged thing where you have to go to someone who's been attuned, you are yourself attuned, and there are a series of trainings, and often these are done in the scope of an afternoon or a weekend or something like that. So the skepticism comes from being involved in other kinds of magical practices that involve the movement of energy and having the experience that these kinds of skills are cultivated over time. It's not a question of paying for a class, and often these Reiki classes are very expensive, and then, like, kind of in a moment being suddenly able to do it. So I'm making this video because I'm curious, because I know that some of you guys are involved in Reiki. I'm curious about your experiences, and I'm curious about this process of attunement and how people actually go about teaching Reiki and performing it. So if any of you guys have any thoughts about that, that would be welcomed. I don't know, it's one of those positions where I don't know, like I believe in magic, right? I practice witchcraft. I practice various kinds of mystical and occult things, and I want to believe in this kind of stuff, but it doesn't seem to really fit into the framework of my worldview and my experience, etc. So anyway, I was wondering what you guys thought and what your opinions were. Have you had Reiki performed on you that you feel has had like tangible results? If you have any kind of training, or if you're a teacher yourself or whatever, like what has your experience been with that? Is it fair to have questions about whether or not you can actually be effective at energetic healing, whatever that means, through like shorter training sessions, right? I mean, most of these classes are, the ones that I've seen are usually in the hundreds of dollars. The cheapest one I've seen was like 70, 75, 80, somewhere in there. And they're usually no more than an afternoon or two. So anyway, I was just looking for some insight. So hope you guys are well.